When he said honorable member, I got worried. Colonel, we are about to go to 2.3.6 at paragraph 83. The question is whether IPID was immediately informed of the incident, and if not, why you did not notify IPID immediately after the shooting incident, and why you allowed members of the task team involved in the shooting incident to leave the scene before the IPID arrived. You deal with that at paragraph 83.
Yes. Paragraph 33. Furthermore, John is not the initial investigator at IPID who multiply dealt with any of the complaints of police shootings by the members of the teams.
Wait.
Sorry, paragraph 83.
83, sorry, I'm so sorry, Commissioner.
Yes.
It's a long day.
27.
Sorry, Commissioner. It's long. I'm with you, Commissioner. 83.1. The protocol is for the police officers involved in the shooting to telephone radio control 10111. They would in turn contact IPID to the best of the knowledge on the day of the shooting. Radio control was in fact contacted. A team of IPID investigators arrived on the scene. I was not in charge of the operation. It's being led by Constable Matthew and Captain Rodriguez, together with the other members of NIU and Metro Police. I cannot recall now exactly who telephoned radio control.
Can you please explain this? My understanding is that you are the commander of this team. Why is it that you were not the person in charge, or am I mistaken in understanding that you are the commander?
Yes. Commissioner,
Why, if you are the commander, would you not have been in charge?
Yes. Commissioner, if you could recall earlier on.
I remember you touching on that and saying even when this was happening, you were somewhere downstairs and so on, and that you were not leading the team. I just want to understand this.
So the information emanated from Pietermaritzburg for that information for the suspects. So they would naturally take precedence and be in charge of the scene. In terms of the tactical part, it would be Captain Rodriguez. He is the most senior tactical member that will be in charge of the scene. That was his scene. But when the other role players arrive from the station, for example, the station duty officer, branch commander, they will now take over the entire scene. If it was my information, Commissioner, then I'll take full responsibility to say, well, from the beginning, it is my information, my responsibility. I am the commander of that scene. It is my operation.
Maybe, Colonel, the most difficult thing to understand is in any operation, why is the most senior police officer in that operation not in charge of the operation? Because you would accept that you were the most senior officer.
Yes, I will accept that, Commissioner.
At the flat?
Yes.
So, because of that, why then were you not in charge of the operation as the most senior officer?
Commissioner, I facilitated and assisted and coordinated it after the fact. But in terms of the operation itself, that would be Captain Rodriguez who led the operation. But
it still doesn't make sense.
Can I maybe ask the question differently?
Yes, Commissioner.
You referred to Constable Matthew and Captain Rodriguez.
Yes.
And then you have mentioned the information came from or belonged to, I think you said, Pietermaritzburg?
That's correct.
Can you just locate Constable Matthew and Captain Rodriguez in the two entities that you say it was their information?
Yes,
Who was Pietermaritzburg?
Yes.
Who was from Pietermaritzburg?
Constable Matthew.
And then Captain Rodriguez?
From Durban, Canaan.
Okay. And was Captain Rodriguez senior to you? What would
No.
have made him in charge ahead of you? Maybe just explain that for us.
No, he wouldn't have been ahead of me, Commissioner. I'm the senior person to him. But for that purpose of the operation, it was their information. If you go back onto the M13, he was in charge of the operation, the firearm was recovered. When you go back to Hillcrest, he was in charge and present when the firearm was recovered. When he got to the flat, after the incident, he was still in charge. But I will assist from my point of view as coordination or further assistance.
Thank you.
What's the relevance of the Maritzburg information for purposes of who is in charge?
Normally, Chair, is that when the information derives from a certain unit, they will register an inquiry. It's their information. They're in charge of that information.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about being in charge of the operation, not just the information. Fine, the information comes from Pietermaritzburg.
Yes, yeah.
But now It's here and it relates to what's being done in Durban.
Yes.
So what's the relevance of that information if there's now an operation in Durban? That's what I want to understand. Because you emphasize this thing about information from Maritzburg. When I asked you the question, why is it that you were not in charge of the operation? You said the information was from Maritzburg and so on and so on. So what's the relevance of that information when we have an operation in Durban?
Yes.
What's the relevance of the Maritzburg information?
So, Commissioner, it's a, may I explain, continuous operation emanating from Pinetown, which the doctors registered, Hillcrest, and back here. It was a continuous operation.
But then Captain Rodriguez is Durban, Canine Durban.
Yes, that's correct.
So, and he is the one who ultimately becomes in charge at the Morningside flat, correct?
Yes. Because
So meaning the fact that there was information from Maritzburg did not result in him not being in charge.
yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
You see what- so he was in charge even though the information or some information originally emanated from Maritzburg.
That's correct.
So which would say to me that Maritzburg information was irrelevant for purposes of who became in charge,
Yes.
correct?
Put it that way, Commissioner.
Now, back to my original question. Why was it not you that was in charge? Because this Maritzburg thing that you are telling us above has, as you've just admitted, become irrelevant.
Yes.
Why were you not in charge?
The Commissioner, in terms of, as I explained, I go back again, this is what happens in practice.
But please forget about Maritzburg now.
Yes.
You've accepted that it's irrelevant for
Yes.
purposes of who's in charge.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So it's a continuous operation, Commissioner. One don't want to interfere if it's running from one area to another area. If it's stopped at one stage and, if it's another operation another day, I'm just giving you an example. Now, it was managed quite well by Captain Rodriguez himself before I got there. I'm not saying I don't take any responsibility. That's what I'm not saying, Commissioner. I assisted in every way I could as being a senior person there. But in terms of the incident itself, I'm not taking myself away from there. What was emanating to the scene, I assisted where I could. But naturally, it started there and he managed it very well.
I'll leave it there.
Is there an operational manual or national instruction that governs what we have just discussed with you? Because I'm not saying you are wrong or I don't believe
Yes.
you. I just have serious difficulty understanding how a junior officer, you would have to take instructions from them if they were in charge of the operation. So if they said shoot and you happen to be there, you would have to take instructions from them.
Yes.
And that I have serious difficulty with. If they said, let's leave the scene and not call IPID,
Yeah.
you would have to follow the instructions since, according to you, they
Yes.
were in charge. And I have serious difficulty with that. So is there an operations manual or a national instruction that we can read for ourselves to ascertain what happens when police go to it's not a moving scene, it's a flat.
Yes.
And they go there because they believe that suspects are hiding there and are planning a different crime to
Yes.
the one that started somewhere else. Is there a manual that we can read that can give us an answer to this question?
Commissioner Kumalo, so let me put it this way to you. Even if the guy is a constable, the member itself, if it's his inquiry and his docket, no matter what the circumstances are, if you're going, for example, whether it's Komashi or Effingam or wherever it is, he will remain in charge of that investigation. That's his information. Although I might be the senior guy, he will request assistance from myself to say, well, I need this, I
I
need
think
that.
you've said that already, and I hear you. My
Yeah.
question is there an ops manual or a national instruction that says what you are telling us?
I can look into it, Commissioner.
Because there has to be a source document or a
Yes.
prescript that says this
Yes.
is how things work.
Yes,
Will you provide that to us so that at least going forward?
I'm going to look into it, Commissioner.
But can you answer some of the questions that are implicit in what Commissioner Kumalo says? So if that junior officer, who as you say could even be a constable, were to say, retreat, and you, the colonel, do not believe that you should retreat, you would retreat based on the instruction given by the constable.
So that
Can you please answer the question directly?
Sorry, Commissioner, I'm just engaging with Commissioner.
Okay.
That happens in, for example, POP. Now, a junior member cannot give an instruction to a senior member, public or the policing. For example, if they're having a standoff at a right or something. But in circumstances of investigation, a junior member can guide you but he can seek assistance from a senior member in terms of administratively.
Please answer the question directly in relation to an operation of this nature. There's a shootout, the police are deciding whether to shoot back or to retreat and run away, and the constable says, let's retreat, and you do not believe that retreating is warranted under the circumstances. Do you just obey the constable? Please answer the question directly.
Yeah, Commissioner, in circumstances, we must do that, Commissioner, if the guy is tactically trained, for example, so we must listen to what he's saying.
And you say that if we get a manual, it's going to bear you out on this.
Commissioner, I'll go look into that. That's a bit of a gray area, but this is my understanding of the
No. There can't be a gray area. Surely there must be a command structure. And basically you are saying
Yes.
a constable can command you under those circumstances. Surely there must be a command structure.
There is a command structure, Commissioner. It has to be the hierarchy.
You know better, but I'm not willing to believe that there's any gray area on this issue.
Yeah. So there is a command structure, Commissioner. As
Which
indicated,
is-
the senior member
Yes.
is a senior member.
Yes.
But administratively, if the junior members require assistance from the senior member.
I'm not talking assistance now. I'm talking because you say the junior officer is responsible for the operation. So I just want to get an idea of how far that goes. Does it go even to the junior officer instructing you?
Yes.
A constable instructing a colonel? Is that what you mean? Is that what you want us to do?
Depends on what investigation we speak about, Commissioner.
No. I'm not being general here. I'm asking you
Yes.
about a specific one like this Morningside operation.
Yes.
Where there was a shootout.
Yes.
Let us say instead of Captain, is it Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, yes.
Yes. Let's say instead of him, it was a constable that was responsible.
Yes.
Are you saying that constable could have given you instructions or orders, underline instruction or order? Is that what you are telling us? And that you would have had to obey that instruction or order? Is that what you are telling us?
Commissioner, with regards to the shooting,
The entire operation and order could have manifested in whatever
In different ways.
in different ways and for whatever purpose it could easily have manifested.
yes, Commissioner.
So you would have had to obey that order or instruction from a constable.
If it's his inquiry and his investigation, that's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. I think the difficulty, Colonel, is that it appears as if you're trying to distance yourself from this operation. And the question will be why. I mean, for example,
Yeah.
the simple question is, do you accept that your anti-gang unit was part of this operation? What's your response to that?
That's correct. Myself and Warrant Officer 7, I do.
You were part of this general
Yes,
operation?
that's correct.
Yes. And you say technically for the purpose of, I would accept if you said for the purpose of house penetration, you would send the most technical person. Remember I said to you, I would have said to you, my proposition is that Rodriguez will be your sharpshooter. You would send him to be in charge of the shooting. But the general operation, you will still be in charge. I think that's what you tried to get at.
That's what I tried to indicate earlier on. Sorry, Chair, if I mixed my words up. I did say operationally it'll be Rodriguez.
No, remember, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
And I'm trying for the last time. Think about a bank robbery.
Yes.
There are guys who are going to go inside and do a stick up. There are guys who are going to be like, you wait outside. And the person who's waiting outside can still remain in charge of the whole operation. So the fact that someone else went inside and be in charge of the stick up does not necessarily mean that they are in charge. The boss could be waiting in their car in a similar fashion that you are waiting downstairs. That does not excuse you to say that you send the most, I'll say your best shootist upstairs. You remained in control, and you had interest in any event because you were looking for Bevan. But that's my last attempt. Otherwise, we'll have to leave it for cross-examination. What's your comment?
So my comment again, once again, Commissioner, I could be totally wrong. We do this every single day, and administratively, yes, I am there. Operationally, the most senior person will be in charge. That goes in the operational plan as well. When you're doing operational plan, as to who's in charge, whose operation, where it emanated from, Commissioner.
Let me ask you a different question. These guys that are at the scene, have you worked with them before in other operations? Rodriguez, China, and
that's correct.
And in those operations, who was in charge?
Depends which operations. If they worked with me in my operation, I was always in charge.
But you've worked with them, so
yes.
Different operation. And it's correct that in your statement you say, in fact, you seconded their referrals or to be appointed as part of your team.
Not Captain Rodriguez.
Not Rodriguez, but the others.
I'm talking about the anti-gang detective members.
Yes, detectives. Okay.
Yes.
All right. No, we'll pick it up from when you do the calls, but please keep that in mind because it's still concerning.
I'm not distancing myself away from.
Okay.
I did indicate administratively, yes, I will assist him.
Yes. No, remember all of this, it's said with also the background that in your statement you say that there are rumors that your unit was involved in the shooting on the operation, and you say that's not correct, and the proposition is that you were involved. Whether you were sitting downstairs, your unit was involved, whether you're sitting on the basement or you went up, is one operation.
In terms of the shooting?
No, in terms of the whole operation, because you
Yes,
were
we are part of the operation. That's correct.
Yes. Okay. And in any event, my understanding, at least from our chats, is that you were not equipped yourself to go upstairs anyway, you know. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In any event.
In the day in question, I was wearing a short pants, Commissioner.
Exactly.
I was wearing short pants with my tackies. I wasn't prepared for such an incident.
Thank you. Let's move on, Colonel.
Is it what, 83.2 or
83.2. I've put a question to you. Yes, we're answering on 83.2 now. You've read the first paragraph.
Please read 83.2. The police officers.
The police officers that approached and entered the flat and who fired the shots were not members of the anti-gang team. They were accordingly not my members, neither Captain Sivan Naidu or being members of the anti-gang team played any part in the shooting. 83.3. Both Captain Sivan Naidu and I remained in the scene, even when I put LCRC and Provincial Commissioner and the National Commissioner paramedics and local police station duty officers, district duty officers, DPCI Provincial Commander, Brigadier Nuswa, Colonel Jacobs, Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Gunazi, the National Commissioner of Police, Lieutenant General Masamulu, and the former Minister of Police, Honorable Minister Tele, attended the scene. We were accordingly on the scene for a very long time.
Before I go to this is my very last attempt. Do you accept that, for example, remember in the robbery example I gave you, if people were to be charged with common purpose, the driver sitting outside, not doing the shooting inside the bank, will also be implicated as part of the enterprise?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Yes. Now, when you go to paragraph 83.2, I want to suggest to you that it doesn't make any difference to insist that your members, as you say, your members would have been you and Warrant Officer Naidu did not do the shooting because you form part and parcel of the same operation. Will you accept that at least on that level?
Yes, I do accept that because, okay, I'll accept it.
Okay. And then...
In fact, IPAD is investigating this matter.
That's correct, Commissioner.
And
correct.
you are one of the people that you and Mr. Naidu are part of the people that are being investigated by IPAD.
That's correct. We're suspects in this matter, Commissioner Mulai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then question 2.3.7, why did IPAD and its investigating officer were not allowed immediate access to the crime scene when they arrived at the flat? And you deal with that in paragraph 84 of your statement.
Yes. I was not in charge of the crime scene. It was managed by the detectives from the local police station, to the best of my knowledge. The allegations made in this subparagraph is incorrect. Now, Commissioner, if I may explain, we also here, we're responding to Gregory Loftus when he put out and that's the reason we're going hard. For example, he said that, for example, if we shot, we didn't shoot. So this was a response here as well. Some of it were response to his application for the application for the interdict. And if you look here, that's why we directed, when counsel was drafted in senior counsel, some of this it's directing towards not as if we're not taking responsibility, but it was drafted in such a way to respond to Gregory Loftus' allegations.
Okay. And then we go to 2.4. Chair, we've had discussions with Colonel, and you will see that questions relating to 2.4 and 2.5, they form part of the application that will be submitted for in camera for reasons that will be fully provided. But Colonel, and only if you are comfortable for the purpose of, because I know from what we've discussed that it's not everything that relates to Mr. Naika that will form part of the privileged or confidential information. And there's only one incident that was put before this commission really, which involved you using Mr. Naika's vehicle in one of the cash and transit operations. Is there something that you're willing to talk about?
Yes, indeed, Commissioner. So around about, I could be wrong of the year, you correct me if I'm wrong, 2016, 2017. And so there was a cash and transit information. And yet again, we come back, there was a Colonel Carl van der Pfeiffer, who's late now, who died in the last CIT. He was the coordinator and operational commander of this information. So we had staged up an area in Springfield Park next to Metro, and the information was that the robbers would come in a certain car, and they would rob the van as soon as the cash van arrived. And we had about 26, 27 NIU policemen around, National Intervention Policemen, a big team. But suddenly, so we were in the Mercedes-Benz with a guy named Neil Tomlinson and two other members. This car was identified already by one of the spotters, so we had to leave it aside. And subsequent to that, a A200 Mercedes-Benz speed right into the van, shots fired, they grabbed the money, whole hell break loose, the members are disorientated, suspect is shot down on the floor, shots are still flying. It's in the built-up area in the mall. It's like a, what's it called? It's the opposite macro, value center. Now there's three members in a Golf 6 that comes off from NIU and chases A200. During that time, the purpose of this bulletproof, the guy that's driving Nike's bulletproof, he had some tow trucks as well that were sort of spotting the robbers. That was discussed the day before with Colonel van der Pfeiffer, that because these tow trucks are there, it won't be conspicuous, we'll use it there and we'll keep surveillance. No one's really going to see if it's... So, in doing so, the A200 is opening fire with the rifle, they shot his tow trucks, but he's holding the back. The only other vehicle that could assist this Golf 6 was his bulletproof at the time. So we had jumped into his bulletproof. It was myself, Warren Sapande, and Neil Tomlinson, ex-dog handler, part of CI, was in that vehicle. And whilst the chase was on towards Parlock, suspects opened fire and they shot the tires off the Golf 6. And this vehicle was going on rims. And we started to push hard with this bulletproof vehicle to keep the pressure on. And they went into a dead end. They took a wrong turn. And subsequent, the Golf 6 managed to catch up with the three NIU members. A long shootout, Commissioner, 4 suspects were shot dead, firearms recovered, and all the money was recovered as well. It was a long crime scene. So I had indicated to the source, this is the crime scene, or I indicated to the NICA. And you cannot move your vehicle because this is a crime scene. So it was there for like about 12, 13 hours. It became a problem later, Commissioner, where there was a big investigation as to, they didn't know the real story as assistance, how I was assisting the police in this incident.
And I think that the whole story about it, the nub of it really was that you used, or at least the police used Nika's vehicle to chase down.
Yeah. So if I gave the real events of what occurred in my personal recollection, that's exactly what happened on the day, Commissioner. If it wasn't through Nika's vehicle, I can tell you these members would have been probably injured very badly or something bad would have happened, and the suspects would have got away.
When you say then there was a lot of misunderstanding and investigation, was it about the use of Mr. Nika's motor vehicle?
Yes, at the time, Mr. Nika, so why did we use his bulletproof in that operation? That was, other members were not happy with that, with Nika. So later we were called and there was an investigation and I explained and said, no, listen, now we got the right story, you know. This was Carl van der Pfeiffer's operation. He had met with Nika the day before to sort of plan this operation and see how we can curb it, prevent it.
Would there be a report of that investigation?
Commissioner, I can see if there's a report somewhere and get back to you.
Will you please make
Yes.
those inquiries? Thank you.
And to be fair to you, Colonel, when we continue on the next stanza, the difficulty is that the Commission had some evidence to suggest that Mr. Nika might be involved in the drugs. So it's not just using a civilian's vehicle in such instances, but because there is evidence that was put before the commission that he is potentially a very prominent figure
Yeah.
in the drug business,
Yeah.
and that's where the difficulty comes in
So-
the bigger scheme of things, and
Yeah.
not necessarily just using a civilian's car.
So,
as it were.
so there's something that we applied for in camera that's a little sort of sensitive that I will elaborate more as to who Mr. Nike is, and maybe the commission will allow me if the application is allowed for that purposes. He played a very important role very recently. Very important role, Commissioner. If I can tell you, this is part of the commission. The commission was dwelling onto it, and it's because of him there's something that happened. But we'll hear from Commissioner or the Chair if you'll allow this in camera.
Chair, we have reached the end of the statement on page 28. Chair will see that when you go back to the regulation 10.6, I have mentioned item 2.4 dealing with Mr. Clive Naika and his relationship, and 2.5, Mr. Tizi Meromotu, and all those will deal with this comprehensive.
Commissioner, it was so hurtful for me. The whole world is watching what Mr. Len John said. With no proof, he accused me of taking money for HIT and put in my bank account, which was never verified. He could never ever come up with a single transaction, but with unverified information. And I speak to Len John, Commissioner, on other matters. I got emails and trailing emails of other matters. So I'm very polite with him. But it hurts me because I've got a wife and I've got kids. I didn't steal the money from anywhere, Commissioner. And I will account before the Commissioner to say where I got the funds from. But right now, I'm so embarrassed. If I go, any of the people are laughing at me. My kids go to school, but I don't think so. It was very fair and premature for him to come right here, Commissioner. I'm not saying to Commissioner and the commissioners. I'm saying, but for the rest of the world to watch. I've been in the police since 30 years right now. It's the first time that I've come across allegations of this nature, especially by Mr. Len John. And I've also got charged recently for the Nangi matter. And it's the same people that want to charge me here again, and I'll prove to the commission. I was exonerated after so many months for 37 charges or maybe more, because the same people again. I appeared in head office. I got attorneys which I'm still paying for now, and I won my case. But these are the same people which I'm going to bring out to the commission that are doing this to me now again.
Thank you. We'll see the detail in your supplemented statement.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. We will adjourn now, and the hearing of your testimony will continue on 31 August 2026.